Hello, everybody. It's me, Jeff. How we doing? This is a Memorial Day weekend for those of you in the States. Q&A. Hope everybody's doing good. I just wanted to kind of pop by and answer some questions about Summer Game Fest. We've got Ed Boon joining us a little bit, chatting with him about Mortal Kombat 11 Aftermath, which is out on Tuesday, and he's going to bring by a RoboCop friendship that we're going to check out for the first time, which should be pretty cool. So, no big new game announcements today. Just a fair warning. I saw people say, "Is he announcing Injustice? When are we? Or is he announcing the Sony event?" None of that is happening on this Q&A, but I'm happy to chat about everything. I hope you guys are having a good long weekend if you're in the U.S. or Canada, or I think maybe in the U.K. it's a long weekend too. Bank holiday, can't remember. Anyways, I'm here to answer your questions. I've got this new featured chat thing that the guys at Twitch taught me about this week, so I'm going to try and use that to answer some questions. So if you guys have questions about Summer Game Fest, I'm happy to chat a bit about it, and then we'll get to Ed in a few minutes. But yeah, let's go to the chat and see what you guys are, what you're hyped about for Summer Game Fest. We are. One thing I will say is that a lot of people have been wondering, when is this event going to be announced? That event's going to be announced. We have 4 months through the end of August, and I think. I promise you, by the end of August, I think you'll get a lot of things that you hopefully will want. Not everything. People are saying crazy things in my feed of just what they're expecting. But in terms of events and whatnot, in a physical world, sometimes events have to be announced like weeks or months in advance because people have to plan travel from around the world and whatnot. And now we're in a world where digital things can happen kind of almost instantly. I remember even with Nintendo Directs earlier this year, like Nintendo would announce it a couple days before it would happen, and there'd be 1 million people concurrently show up. We all know how to organize pretty quickly around things. So, I know people want like the full schedule through the end of August, and there will be events that will likely pop up with days' notice that will be major events, and I think people will be really excited about that. So just be patient. And I know we all want to plan our calendars, and I promise you, if you have your alerts set on summergamefest.com and you have the calendar installed, we actually will kind of add those events as they get announced. So you're not going to miss anything. Don't worry. But we gotta stay tuned and see. All right, let's go to some of these Q&As here and see what questions you guys have. Let's see. All right, some people. I'm going to try some of these and sort of see what people think. All right, first question is, Jeff, are you going to announce some announcements then? From Rekeetle69. Announce some announcements. I'm trying to see how we would go about announcing some announcements. There are great things coming. I don't even necessarily know everything that's going to be announced over the summer. It's one of those things that I'm happy to, sometimes tease you guys about things I think are valuable. Like when we had the Unreal Engine 5, I said, I think this is going to be an important thing this summer. And everyone was like, Keighley better deliver. And I think that was like a pretty good announcement overall that everyone was excited about. But I can't always announce things. It's up to the game companies to kind of decide when they're going to announce things. And one thing I will say is some of the stuff I see in my feed of games that people want to be announced, some of these games I don't think are even in development or very early development, and I know everyone gets excited about the future potential of games and where things are going to go. But be patient, give it time, and I think we have a big summer ahead. June is going to be packed with a ton of events, and I think only a couple of them have been announced, and there's a ton of stuff that I think is going to be happening. Even like individual game events. And that's the thing I think is, you may see kind of big things from certain publishers or platforms, but also kind of individual things on certain games that will be doing updates and whatnot. And not everything is going to be, the biggest game out there, but there's still games that I think are worthwhile, hopefully tuning in for. So good question. Next question, anything related to Fortnite next week? I don't know. I know Fortnite is coming towards the end of its, season. So, I would imagine, there will be stuff around kind of the end of the season, start of the next season. We just did a really cool thing with Christopher Nolan that you may have seen, the trailer for Tenet, which is his upcoming film, hopefully coming out in July. and I did a cool in-game event with John David Washington, the star of that, and we got to show that trailer, and it was really cool to work with Chris Nolan and Warner Brothers and put that all together. And Chris Nolan's a filmmaker I've always admired, love his films, and it was so cool to collaborate with him to sort of bring that to life. So that was a cool thing in Fortnite. Fortnite is always doing stuff, so I don't know if the dates are official, but it sounds like the next few weeks we'll move to a another season, right? It's like Chapter 2, Season 3, I think. So I think I always mess up chapters and seasons, but yes, Fortnite I'm sure will hopefully have a lot of stuff happening over the summer. So let's see. Here's an Ed Boon question. How many people so far have asked for Melina? I think Ed was joking about that when I was talking to him earlier, which is pretty funny. So let's see. All right, next question. Gameplay of Assassin's Creed Valhalla is in SGF. Yeah, I mean, I know everyone saw a little bit of a tease of it in the Xbox event on May 7th that they sort of said was a gameplay trailer, but was probably a charitable description of what it was. It was kind of more an in-engine trailer. I don't know anything, but Ubisoft has a big event in July, Ubisoft Forward. I would think by the end of August we would hopefully see a game demo of Assassin's Creed Valhalla. When that's going to happen, is that next week? Is that in July? Is it in August? I don't know, but the game is obviously coming out this year, so it's like people were like, is the Avengers going to be in Summer Game Fest? It's like the Avengers is, I think, currently scheduled for like a September, I want to say 7th or something, or it's like an early September release date. So yeah, I would hope over the summer that we're going to hear on all these games. And again, like, I think we just have to be patient. I think there's going to be like a lot of great stuff coming. But good question. Let's see. Next question is, what about Destiny? Something new. Yeah, Bungie is part of Summer Game Fest. Destiny is their game, so that's another game that I would hope by the end of August there will be updates on that game and what they're doing with it. So nothing to announce, but again, that's I think something that likely would have something to share by the end of August for you. Let's see. Next question from Phoenix. Yo, Geoff, you got to get more events. Let's go. There are lots of events. Just because things are not listed on the calendar doesn't mean that they're not planned, that they're things being worked on. I know we all, like I said, have like our perfect, scorecard of all the events between now and the end of August, but it's gonna take a little time, I think, for everything to be filled out. And part of what's happening is that a lot of these game companies are still figuring out exactly when they can do their events and what they can show. The world has gone through such a challenging time with COVID. So we have to keep that in mind, that a lot is being worked on behind the scenes to try and get these games out on time. Let's see. Next question. Has Ed Boon come on yet? Ed Boon has not come on yet, but he will be with us in a few minutes. I taped it a little bit earlier with him, so we'll roll it in. But it's a good interview with him. Let's see. Next question. What is going on here? I'm doing a Q&A about Summer Game Fest. Ed Boon is going to come by. We're going to show you for the first time the RoboCop friendship from Mortal Kombat 11 Aftermath that's coming out on Tuesday. So Ed brought that by. So you guys will, if you're fans of Mortal Kombat, stay tuned for that. Next question. Give me the Elder Scrolls 6. I know you're hiding it. I'm not hiding it. That's another one that I think Pete Hines from Bethesda said to someone online that, Todd Howard's next game, that Bethesda Game Studios, the next game they're doing is Starfield, and Elder Scrolls 6 comes after that. So I think it's going to be quite a while until we hear about the Elder Scrolls 6. I know we're all very excited to learn about it, but Todd has another game that is coming out before that, so we'll probably hear about that one first. And again, I love all the energy around this stuff. I don't make the games. I only can bring them to you when they actually exist. Let's see. Next question. Will there be any more events this month? I guess we have about a week left in May. There is some stuff happening next week that will be cool. I think there's some good events. Not anything that is. I think like in terms of things you guys are expecting. Not that I'm aware of anything being sort of particularly monumental as you guys would want to be next week, but I think we have a couple good games doing some events next week, and then we get into a lot of great stuff I think in June, and there are also things that I don't even know about that may pop up. So there could be something big next week that I haven't even been told about, and sometimes I'll get an email or I'll get a call saying, hey, we want to do something tomorrow. Can you fire up the stream? We want to show this. And that was like with Unreal Engine 5. That came together in a matter of a couple of days. So there certainly are events that I'm aware of throughout the summer that are not on the public-facing calendar, but there are other things that I haven't even been told about. So, we might be surprised. So there could be something, really big tomorrow or, Tuesday. I don't know. But I think it's going to be building over the summer. June, there's a lot of great stuff. The traditional E3 week. We know that there's going to be a big Cyberpunk event. We know there's going to be an EA event. There's the Steam Game Festival with a lot of playable games for you guys to download. So stay tuned. There's going to be a lot of good stuff, I think. Let's see. Next question from Mr. DNA. How's the Half-Life Alyx interactive story coming along? As you guys may know, I finished writing a story about the making of Half-Life Alyx at Valve. I spent a good number of months up there with the team telling the story not only of the making of Half-Life Alyx, but sort of what's been going on at Valve over the past decade. I finished my writing. I actually was reviewing a version of the story earlier today that our team is working on. So we're getting very, very close to finishing that up, and it's a massive project. I'm really excited about it. It's taken a little longer than we wanted, just because we're doing some really revolutionary stuff with the technology inside of it. I always pride myself on pushing the Final Hour stories in kind of a new direction. So I'm really excited to share it with you, and I'll probably do a stream when it's ready to kind of walk you through what we're doing with that and reveal it. So I think we're getting close. I definitely think it'll be something that you'll see in the month of June. Exactly when we'll update you, but yeah, it's very close to being finished, and I'm really excited to share it with you. All right, next question. Let's see, Jeff, are the console manufacturers going to do game demos for next-gen games through streaming? I don't think you'll... It's a good question. I think streaming is definitely going to become more prominent in the next generation, right? There's Google Stadia, there's xCloud, there are other platforms and services. If your question is, do I think you're going to stream next-gen demos before the consoles come out to sort of your existing systems? I don't think so. But I think in the next generation, yeah, I think there will be more streaming overall. And, one of my visions for all these game festivals that I'm doing with these platforms and playable content is that you're still going to download things now, like the Steam Game Festival, you're going to be downloading games or demos. But I think in the next few years, hopefully we'll be able to just click a button and start playing games and not have to download, gigs and gigs of data. So I think that's coming for demos. It's just a question of when it's going to be able to, when it's going to be able to sort of become a reality. Next question: what excites you the most as a possibility to come from the Unreal Engine 5? It's a lot of things. I think the full global illumination is really amazing. What you're going to be able to do with kind of lighting in games, the nanite technology. The detail of those environments, like that Unreal Engine 5 clip. You should go look at if you haven't already, look at the version on Vimeo. Which is close to uncompressed 4K footage, and it's just dazzling when you look at that. And if you see that, the clip that I put on Twitter that has 8 million views, it's really cool, but it's just Twitter compression really knocks it down. But if you look at that on Vimeo, go find it. Just search for Unreal Engine 5 on Vimeo. It's absolutely dazzling when you look at the resolution of all the textures and what's happening there. So I think what I get most excited about is just the level of detail in the game environments. As some artists have said, it's a tax for the team to have environments that are going to be that detailed in some huge 25 or 30-hour game. But I think more detail in the environments is pretty exciting. Let's see. Next question. Any chance we're going to hear from Reggie on here? Good question, Kev. I was just talking with Reggie yesterday. He has this new podcast that he's doing with the New York Game Critics Circle, and I recorded that with him. I think it's gonna be out in a few weeks. So yeah, I would love to do something with Reggie. I'm sure at some point this summer we'll get him on something to kind of talk about games and his career. So nothing scheduled yet, but he's a good friend of mine, and I'd certainly love to. I think you guys would love to have him on as well. So hopefully that will happen. Next question's from Daryl Meany. Geoff, what's been the toughest aspect of planning Summer Game Fest? I don't know. It's a good question. The toughest aspect, I think, is just organizing things, and I've been saying to people we're kind of building this plan as we go. So that's, I guess, been a little challenging to sort of just figure out like how what this is going to look like throughout the summer. I know you guys have incredible expectations for all these events and games you want to see announced, and I want to get there too. And kind of started with the Xbox thing that people were a little disappointed in, and then there was the Unreal Engine 5 thing that people got super excited about, and it's it's one of these things where when I do Game Awards, I can kind of look at the 2.5 hours and really plan it out, and the kind of the arc of the show, and we don't always get it right, but I think we can kind of have a big open with a big surprise like we did last year with the Xbox Series X, and then other great moments. This is a little harder because it's 4 months, and I wish we could kind of just like plop ourselves down in July and be like, oh, this has been announced and this is great. But all I say is, like, I think once you look back at the end of August over the summer, I hope you guys will say, wow, that was really, really awesome. And at the end of the day, we're just organizing kind of, these things. We're not producing them. So, we're doing the best we can with kind of the games that are out there and the events that are happening. So, I know people have high expectations. I do too. One of the reasons we created this was we wanted to kind of bring everyone together and have a sort of an organizing principle for all these events. So it's been a little challenging to figure it all out, but I'm really excited about how it's going. And I think there's going to be a lot more coming in the in the kind of months ahead. Let's see. Any more great questions here? What are your plans for the upcoming Game Awards? Good question. We haven't really announced anything, but you can rest assured there will be a Game Awards this year in December. I'm really want to make that happen, and it may take on a different shape or form. We're certainly hopeful we'll be able to do something very similar to what we've done in past years, but also realistic that given the state of the world, that might not be possible to have a big in-person audience for the show. But we're definitely excited about doing the show this year. There's rumors that like the Oscars might be postponed or something, and they're in a different world because the movie theaters have been closed. Games, if you haven't seen, the kind of the sales of games are like last month in April, they were up 75% year over year compared to last year. So it's still going to be a big year for games. And I definitely want to put that together. We've already got some amazing, pitches in from companies that want to announce games at the show. I think people don't realize how early some of that stuff starts, but I'm starting to get very excited about some of the things that I think might come together for December. Things always, shift around, so it's far too early to talk about any of that. But we're working hard on that show. I just had a meeting last week about the set design, and we're going to be ready to do a very big show for all of us in December. Hopefully, after the new consoles have come out, it's going to be really exciting. But we may have to make some changes to our stage or the size of our audience and some of our plans there. So we're working on that. Then I'm also working on the big Gamescom opening night live show that will be on August 27th. That's going to be a very big show as well with a lot of big games in it that we're starting to work on. So we kind of have those as two really big tentpole moments that we'll have to share with you guys later this year. Let's see. A couple more questions. We should get to Ed Boon here pretty soon, right? Because you guys probably want to see some fun Ed Boon stuff. Let's see. Next question is from OG Kwangi. Do you think if you do a similar event next year, the companies may have all their events announced at the start? I don't know. It's like the hard part about this is in a digital world. I know we'd like to say on May 1st, we're going to announce an entire summer of events and, plan it out. Just like, you plan out like a concert you're going to go to 10 months in advance. We had all the companies listed initially, right? Of companies that are going to be participating in some way. So that was sort of a way to do it. I don't know next year that we'll ever be in a state where we can kind of announce everyone's date that far in advance. And part of it is because I don't think those dates are set. I think next year I'd love to condense down Summer Game Fest a little bit to, maybe a couple months. But again, we'll have to see. This year is a little extraordinary, but it's not like some of these companies are hiding their event dates. They really just don't know. And there's not a lot of advantage to announcing something super early and then having to change it or pivot it. So I think people are like, hey, let's announce it when we're ready. And as I said, in a physical world, sometimes you have to announce things very early because people have to plan their hotel and their travel. In the digital world, things can pop up almost instantly. So I think that's sort of the other thing is that, some companies are just going to announce things, I think just like shortly before they happen. And that's okay. And I think everyone's still going to tune in, right? We're all going to be able to, find a way to be there because all of us aren't traveling as much anymore. So I don't know. Next year, it would be great to be able to announce more upfront, but I don't know if that's necessarily going to happen. All right, let's do a couple more. A lot of questions. Wow. I'm going to do a couple more quick questions, and then we're going to get to Ed Boon. Next question is from Cash. Will SGF be a yearly thing instead of E3? The honest answer is I don't know. There's no plans for future years on what we're going to do. We're just kind of finding our way this year with it. E3 has been announced for 2021. I don't know. I'm just going to sort of take stock probably in September. We get very busy with the Game Awards. So I don't know, but, we're just going to kind of figure out how it goes this year. And we're only, less than a quarter of the way through this year. So we're going to try and learn a lot this year and then kind of figure out, with you guys in the community of sort of like what worked, what didn't, what would we like to see differently. So there's no real master plan. I think once we get to some of the playable stuff that's going to come up over the next few months, I think it's going to be really exciting as well. So there's lots of layers to Summer Game Fest still to be revealed. All right. Let's see. The Xbox content in Summer Game Fest, will there be a lot of new exclusives? Well, we know Xbox has a big showcase that they've sort of teased that will be coming up in July with all their first-party studios. And, we know that they've got a big Halo Infinite that's supposed to be coming out this year for launch. So that'll be probably, I guess, the big Xbox exclusive that they'll be talking about. Although I imagine there are other games definitely in development. I think they have over 15 studios now in Xbox Game Studios. So, I think this is a console launch year. I would imagine that Xbox has some more things to reveal from their studios. So hopefully we'll hear more about that in the coming months. Let's see. Is there a game coming out this year you've seen footage of that looks graphically better than The Last of Us 2? I don't know, I mean, it's a beautiful game what Naughty Dog has put together. I'm looking forward to playing it. No, I don't know. I mean, I think Cyberpunk I think could look really, really great when we get to dive in and sort of play that, which I'm excited about. That's really big. I think the big question is like, what are the launch titles going to look like for Xbox Series X and PlayStation 5? So I haven't really had a chance to see those, and that's something I think conceivably those would come out this year too. So hard to say. But T-Lu 2 and Ghost of Tsushima, which also looks incredible, coming for PlayStation this summer. So those are going to be really, really big. All right, lots more. I'm going to come back to your questions. Don't worry. But right now, let's chat with our good buddy Ed Boon. He was in Chicago. I recorded this yesterday with him, leading into Memorial Day weekend to chat about Mortal Kombat 11 Aftermath. So let's take a look at that. And then afterwards, I'll be back and we can chat a little bit more about Summer Game Fest and all your questions. All right, here's Ed Boon. Memorial Day weekend continues here, and I thought I'd bring a little guest in to talk about a game or an expansion to a game that is coming out next week. You may remember at the Game Awards a couple of years ago, he revealed his game with quite a surprise appearance. It's Ed Boon. What's up, Dr. Boon?
Dr. Boon. Good. Everybody's at home working and continuing to support Mortal Kombat. So it's a different circumstance, but continuing with the Aftermath expansion.
Yeah, and MK, you've had. I mean, it was amazing revealing the game with you. It coming out last year, being one of the top selling games of the year, and the team at NetherRealm has always done such a great job with post launch content. lots of characters, but this for the first time, I was really, I love what you guys do with the story in MK. And I mean, the cut scenes and the animation. I mean, it's some of the best in class work, I think, across the entire industry that you guys do with, facial capture and whatnot. So you're actually adding more story to this, right? It's not just characters.
We are. Historically, we've done like after we release a game, we'll continue to release characters and backgrounds and additional things to support the game, and then at the end of like a year, we'll do what some people call a Game of the Year edition, GOTY edition, and it usually consists of all of the content that was released throughout the year, packaged into one thing. And with Mortal Kombat X, we added 4 more characters, just to really spice things up, Alien, Predator, and with Mortal Kombat 11, we're going to upping that even more by not only adding additional characters, as you've seen, Fujin, Shiva, RoboCop have been added to the roster, but also additional story content. That's the new thing that we've never done before. We really want to kind of raise the bar with presentation and story, and do something unexpected for players.
So the story expansion, something I'm really excited about, and I know fans are. Can you tell us sort of like where does this take place narratively? I mean, does it continue right on from the MK11 story? Are we telling a different story? Like, how did you guys see it sort of narratively fitting into the package? It's the aftermath, so I think afterwards, but.
Yeah, it's funny. For those who didn't know, in Mortal Kombat 11, we kind of reached the end of time and then jumped to the beginning of time. So you were kind of like we reached both ends of the timeline spectrum. But what we're doing is we are continuing off, like you said, from Mortal Kombat 11, literally at the point where we left off, and then we're going to go back. There's a little bit of a Back to the Future 2 scenario going on where we're going to see the events from Mortal Kombat 11 and the characters influence those events. Shang Tsung is the big star. He is like Kerry Tagawa, having him back, and just seeing Shang Tsung. There's something really cool about seeing that 1995 Shang Tsung from the movie in our game. It's very, very special. And so he's a star. He is like the one who's everybody's waiting to double cross everyone as they try to kind of fix what was broken from Mortal Kombat 11.
And I'm sure some people want to know kind of the scale of like the story in this versus MK11. Like, how much should we expect in terms of like the size of this campaign?
Yeah, Mortal Kombat 11, I think, like our games traditionally have 12 to 16 chapters, where each chapter you go through one character and you play 4 fights and you're taken through this narrative. The Aftermath expansion is 5 meteor chapters. There's more fights in them. Some have 4, some have 6, some have 5. So there a lot more story happens in each chapter. So it's not like a typical 5 chapters, but so it's a decent amount of story that is told. A surprising amount there.
And obviously some great new characters. RoboCop. We saw the RoboCop versus Terminator. I mean, you're just having so much fun. Picking characters. Like, take us through that process, because I mean, you look at, like, I know we did a thing with Joker with you guys last year at Game Awards, and then obviously Terminator, and now RoboCop. Like, you're getting all your childhood fantasies coming to life.
That's exactly it. We are, our studio is in the range of ages where everybody has fun memories of Terminator, RoboCop, Alien, Predator, all of these kind of 80s, 90s action stars. And then, and also we did some of the horror genre characters. So, this is just everybody tapping into their memories of those characters and saying, what if they were in Mortal Kombat? It's a riot to do.
So how does that, work is I imagine you guys just brainstorm this stuff up and then you have to go and figure out like, can we get the rights? Can we do it? He said like it's like, let's get Demolition Man, or it's just like people just like think up things. And then is that sort of ways you sort of chase down, like, is this possible? Can you make it happen?
We have a list,
Yeah.
basically. It's kind of a unofficial list of who would be cool to be in Mortal Kombat. There's a lot of people that we've pursued who, for whatever reason couldn't happen.
Right.
RoboCop was always on the bucket list. I always think of him as the bookend to Terminator. And there's been a RoboCop versus Terminator comic, and there's all this kind of fan fiction about it. So it's just cool to like create these what if scenarios. What if Alien met Predator? What if RoboCop met Terminator? It's just really cool, fun one-offs.
No, and I think you guys have built this amazing IP. So it's sort of like a little bit what Fortnite's doing, which is like bringing in like all these different characters and the fun of sort of, as you said, these what ifs. And, it said that for you guys, I'm sure it's great the day you get the call saying like, we think it's going to happen, because it's like, you dream it up and then you actually make it a reality. And yeah, RoboCop at the end of the announcement trailer definitely is kind of out there. For you guys, let's talk a bit about developing this in like this situation we're in right now, because you're, clearly I think at home and everyone's been working from home, building this, yet you're shipping this game kind of in the middle of this. Like, were you able to finish development before everyone went work from home, or did you actually ship this game work from home? Like, I'm curious how that happened.
Timing wise, we were fortunate because most of the main content, the heavy lifting in terms of, creating content, creating story, characters, design, animation, everything, was in place. We hadn't finished testing it or, launching it, going through all of the steps. So we did all of that at home. I believe you have in your possession we'll see it at some point, the RoboCop friendship move, which is like,
yes,
you're the only one who has it. So
I was gonna say we should take a look at that before we go, because Ed's always like, I'll bring a little something special for the fans. So yeah, I mean, friendship's obviously such a standard of MK. People are excited about RoboCop. So do you want to give any preamble, or should we just take a look at this?
I guess I never mentioned that, the friendship moves, the new stages, new stage fatalities, all that's just coming like at a free update. That's not like, you don't have to get Aftermath to get that, and that's
cool.
part of why we wanted to continue doing that. So, every character is going to suddenly have a friendship move. And, we've teased some of them, we've released some of them here and there. And they're always such a big, kind of like a crowd pleaser, that it's fun to kind of reveal them at opportunities like this and whatnot. So.
Oh, that's so cool. So I didn't actually realize that all the so you went back and gave every character.
Every character. There's like 36, I think, friendship moves that are just going to drop right into the game. And all of a sudden there's going to be new stages, new stage fatalities. That's a big deal. The Deadpool from originally came out in MK2. It's like a new modernized kind of high resolution version of it. So it's a lot of new stuff just dropping into the game.
Well, that's something we all need now is new content for these games, because we're all at home ready to play them. So that's awesome. We'll get to check those out. And then, let's take a look now at the RoboCop friendship from the guys at NetherRealm. There you go. RoboCop friendship. You guys have so much fun with this game. I think that's the thing, that those meetings where you said you get the characters you want, and then you come up with not only fatalities, but now friendships and everything around it.
How can you not have RoboCop do the robot? And, how do you not do that? So.
Well, that's what I love is it's literally a dream factory. You just kind of think these things up, and you must be, what I've always admired, as I said before, is that you're you've been doing this franchise since the beginning, and it feels like you're still having fun because a lot of people they do the same thing for a certain number of years, and it's like, all right, I've done all I can do. But for you, it's like it feels like you're having as much fun as you were back in the day, or even more fun, probably because now it's like I'm sure you're getting licenses and things that like back in the day people wouldn't even take the meeting, and now like everyone wants to be in it probably.
Yeah, yeah, it's kind of like Mortal Kombat has become like, like the staple thing. It's like almost like Marvel. Like you don't expect the last Marvel game, the
Yeah,
last Marvel movie to ever come out. They're just going to keep coming.
yeah,
And even though we've we've been able to scratch other itches, doing Injustice games and stuff, and we have other stuff in the oven. But
yeah.
there's it's always nice to do the Mortal Kombat games, especially when the players are embracing them like they have. I if you would have told me that this would be our so far fastest selling Mortal Kombat game of all of them, 20 something years later, you know, I wouldn't have believed it. So, the fact that they're they're doing as well as they've ever have
Yeah.
is, is
Well,
great.
again, you guys have done an amazing job with the story, but even the technology. I mean, I look at like Unreal Engine 5 that we showed off, and I think of
Yeah.
like what that's going to mean for like, MK games and stuff. I mean, you must get excited about just the possibilities of what you're going to be able to do with the game as these new machines and everything come out.
Yeah, yeah. I think, it's funny when these new systems come out, these new consoles, and everybody goes, okay, well, what's the graphics look like? What's the
Yeah.
graphics look like? I think people are underestimating the impact that the almost zero load time is going to
Yep.
have. I think that's suddenly going to open doors that just weren't considered possible before. And I think we haven't even scratched the surface of what will
Yeah.
eventually be done with those systems.
Oh, I agree. I've been saying that to people is the SSDs and Xbox, and it's not just a PlayStation thing, right? Xbox and PlayStation will both have SSDs, and yeah, I mean, there are games where, as you said, I think just I could even imagine with like your games where it's like instantly switching stages, or like where just you could have so much kind of just happening. And he said like I think that's the stuff where even the Unreal demo. I mean, I've talked to a lot of people about it, and it's just like the fidelity of what's streaming in with all the textures and all that stuff. I said I think that's yeah, it's one of those things. I think you're right. That's going to dramatically change kind of the types of games, and although we've always loved the load screens, especially in fighting games, it's part of the fun of it. It's just sort of like now, yeah, the idea that these can be sort of continuous, battles, and yeah, it's you said I get excited about next gen for just all genres, and I think you said especially fighting games, where that's all going to go. So I'm sure you'll have some more fighting games in your future, Boone. Don't let us down.
Yeah, I don't know. We might be done.
It's just like switching genres. This is the aftermath, and that's it. No, I really I'm so excited about this game, and that you guys keep pushing forward on so many dimensions with it. So yeah, thanks, Ed. And congrats to not only you but the entire team with everyone spread around Chicago. I'm sure trying to ship this thing. It's I think gamers don't always fully appreciate the work that goes into like building these complicated games from home, around the world, right? And that's one of the things we're finding even with Summer Game Fest is that everyone's like wants all the announcements like right now, and I'm like, hey, some of these teams are like just especially Japan, other places around the world, is like figuring out like how can you work from home, and like how do you get fast enough internet. And I mean, you said your IT guys, like there's a lot of work there to get everyone up to speed, and comfortable working. And I said I'm sure you've got other things that the studio is working on for the future that have to be developed too. So it's a lot of video conferences, I bet.
It is, and but it's also like from our perspective, we are also looking at the other games that are coming out and are excited about. We're
Yeah.
all gamers too, so everybody's kind of like we're part of that audience too. We're sitting there seeing. I was riveted watching the PS5
Yeah.
and Unreal 5 demo, and going, that can't be real. Come on, that can't, like just and we're all fans of that. And so
But that pushes you. That's the thing I kept saying to people is like you look at that demo, and that's not a game shipping this November, but I think that inspires not only me, but you said game developers like you, and I talked to so many other studios where it's like that pushes you to be like, wow, all right, this is like where we're going to get to, and
yeah.
that's exciting.
Yeah, yeah. And again, it's to me, I'm more excited. the graphics is it's kind of like a given. Okay, the graphics are going to be better, but
Yeah.
this new way of handling memory and loading and stuff like that is going to be huge.
Yep. And I think you're right. And I've seen, not I haven't seen anything you guys are working on, but other studios, what they're doing, I think it's yeah, I think people are going to be pleasantly surprised about how, games are going to change, especially with SSDs kind of across everything. And that was the thing with the Unreal demo. People were like, oh, yes, it's PS5, but I think Xbox is going to do that. PCs, majority of them have SSDs now and everything. So it's yeah, it seems like there's still some life left in this business, and we hope that you stay. I mean, I always say this every time I talk to you. I'm so impressed with your loyalty and devotion to the industry and also MK, and what you've built there at NetherRealm. So yeah, thanks for hanging with us, Ed. Memorial Day weekend. I feel like we need to fire up the barbecue or something.
Yeah, no, I can't stress enough how how amazed I am. The team in general, just everybody working from home. We have these, all these video conferencing Zoom meetings, and you see kids running behind everybody, kind of like they're in the midst of this pandemic with everybody else, and they still are creating amazing content. So I'm blown away at the entire studio, how everybody's just embraced this and kind of unified.
We can have a Zoom launch party on Tuesday morning, I guess, right?
we are doing weird things like that. So
No, I just finished a thing with Valve where we shipped Half-Life Alyx, and I was writing the story making that, and they did this. The launch was like a 150-person Zoom meeting, and it's just stuff like that, which is crazy. All right, well, Ed, thanks for hanging out. Everyone can check out MK11 Aftermath Tuesday morning, and you're shipping it across, obviously the consoles, PC, Stadia, Switch, even. So it's like, yeah, it's everywhere.
Yeah, it is. It is. It's going to be digital first, then the physical is going to be in June, and but yeah, Tuesday the 26th. That's the day.
Awesome. All right. Thanks, Ed. Have a good weekend.
Thank you. Okay.
We back. Mike's back on. All right. That was Ed Boon. Good guy. As I mentioned in the interview, so much respect for the fact that he's been doing MK since the beginning. Sticking with that franchise and doing amazing work on it. So it was cool to have him kind of talk a little bit about next gen too, and SSDs and how much that's going to impact games, which is great to see. So thanks to Ed Boon for hanging out with us. As I mentioned, Mortal Kombat 11 Aftermath hits on Tuesday morning on all the platforms. All right, let's do a couple more Q&A things on this holiday weekend, maybe like 10, 15 minutes more, chatting about Summer Game Fest. So if you guys have questions, drop them into the chat. I'm mostly pulling things off Twitch chat because I'm trying this new featured chat thing, which has been pretty fun. So, wow, actually, there are a lot of questions have come in. So let's grab some more questions. Some fun ones like, how about Half-Life 3? How about it? Half-Life Alyx just came out. I know it's only in VR. One of my favorite games this year. They did an amazing job. I think Valve is now just starting to try and figure out what they're doing next. So, I would not expect a Half-Life 3 announcement during Summer Game Fest. Again, it's I love the enthusiasm for all this stuff. I think it's going to take a little bit of time until there's more games to kind of announce. So, anyways, it's lots of great excitement, which I'm happy to see. Let's see. Next question is, when do I expect Call of Duty to be on? I don't know. Lots of rumors out there about the next Call of Duty. I would expect that there'll be another Call of Duty coming this fall, since there's been a Call of Duty every fall since, I don't know, 15 years or something. But yeah, I don't know what their plan is in terms of when they're going to start to share things on it. It's interesting this year because they released, Warzone, which was almost kind of like its separate game, and that it's free to play. So that came out. Used to be Call of Duty would have a very kind of predictable cadence where they'd sort of like have, one game come out, they do like 3 or 4 DLC drops, and then the next game will get announced. And what's interesting now is with all these games, it's sort of, what's the right cadence of like talking about the next game when people are engaged with the current one. So obviously, Warzone's out there, Modern Warfare, Season 4, it looks like they're starting to tease that for that game. So, that's one of the interesting things that all these game companies have to think about is like, what's the right time to talk about that when they have an existing game that a lot of people are playing. So I don't know the answer to that, but, I would hope by the end of summer, we'd obviously get a sense of what's happening for all the big holiday franchises that people expect. So, yeah, I don't know exactly when, but stay tuned. We'll certainly, give you guys updates as we, we get more information on that. But overall, a good question. Next question. Oh, this is just a statement. Leak some info. There's nothing really to leak, and I don't tend to really want to leak things. I know people are excited about games and things that are going to come up, but I don't want to spoil our own surprises too, right? One of the things I love with Game Awards is that we truly do surprise you guys, and that's what's kind of fun about it. Like when we were so worried leading to the show last year about the Xbox Series X and surprising you with that, and that wouldn't have worked if it kind of had leaked out in advance about it. So there are things certainly I know that you probably don't know about some of these games and the timings of when they're going to do things. But things shift, and so stay tuned. But there's nothing really to kind of leak. But I think it's going to be a good summer, and that's what I like. The reason I did Summer Game Fest is I felt pretty confident that we were going to have a pretty good summer of game news and information. So it's a marathon, not a sprint, as Peter Moore used to always say. That it's going to be like a whole summer of things, and I think there's time to sort of to be surprised, right? I mean, that Unreal Engine 5 thing kind of came out of nowhere. And that was like massive, right? And it's, typical of all of us that we see that. It's like, that's great, but like, where's the next thing? And I think there's going to be some next things over the next month or two that will get us excited in different ways, right? I mean, that was a tech demo for Unreal Engine 5, which kind of, as Ed Boon said, it kind of sets a high bar that inspires everybody, which I think is really important. But there obviously will be a lot of games that still to be revealed that will ship this year or next year, and will have, I think, a pretty positive impact on the industry, which is really, sort of good and important. Let's see, Geoff, any news on Capcom? No, nothing really on Capcom. Capcom's not a part of Summer Game Fest right now. They've been invited. Hopefully they'll join us. Lots of rumors about things Capcom's doing. They make great games and have great franchises. So hopefully we'll hear more from Capcom over the summer. I don't even know what they have announced that's even coming out. But, they obviously they've been doing the Resident Evil remakes, which have been doing well for them. And, Monster Hunter obviously was, has been massive for them overall. So looking forward to hearing from Capcom when they have stuff. Let's see. All right. Next question is, what is Hideo up to? My good friend Hideo Kojima. I think he's working on the PC version of Death Stranding right now, which I believe is coming out in July. So, I'm excited to see that. I think that's kind of, their primary focus at Kojima Productions. A lot of the Japanese studios have, I think had a harder time than some of the Western studios in adapting to work from home. Just because I think culturally over there, it's a little bit different in terms of having like a big superpowered PC at home and really fast internet and whatnot. So I think that's something that, I haven't talked to him in a few weeks, but I know last time I talked to him, it was sort of figuring out, how to like finish the PC version, which I know got delayed a little bit, I think because of that, but is still coming in July. So, yeah, I think Hideo's working on that, and I'm sure he's scheming on, whatever the next thing is that he's going to do. He said he's going to be making games, until he dies. So I expect we will definitely get some more Hideo Kojima games coming in the, in future years, but I don't know what they are. So that's one of those things that you should definitely think about what he could do. All right, will we see Phil Spencer in Summer Game Fest? Yeah, we'd love to see Phil Spencer. Yeah, I'd love to bring him on for a chat at some point. I'm sure some point this summer we'll be able to get him on. I was talking to him a few weeks ago, and yeah, they've got their big event in July, so I would love to have Phil on. And I think, these unstructured Q&A things are fun for me and a little more relaxed or kind of podcasty, I guess. I mean, I'd love feedback from you guys on who you'd like to see on, how to do these things, and like I'm open to different ideas. Like, are these Q&As valuable, or like, do you only want me to stream when I have a big new game to announce? And like, I'm trying to find the right cadence of that stuff. So yeah, send me a note on Twitter at Geoff Keighley and let me know what you think. Because I'm happy to not do these streams unless we have a game to announce. And it's like there will be spurts of time where there's nothing to announce, and there'll be a week with a ton of stuff, and maybe there won't be anything one week, and it's all I wish we had a massive new AAA blockbuster game to announce for you guys every day, but there are just not that many games like that being made to fill 120 days of stuff. So yeah, we'll keep you posted. But yeah, I would back to your original question. I would love to have Phil Spencer on. So stay tuned for that. Hopefully at some point this summer. Let's see. What's with the figure? Oh, yeah. What's the figure in the back with the axe? That's a good question. That is Brutal Legend. Here, let me see if I can grab it for you. Look at that. Brutal Legend. That was a gift from, I think, Tim Schafer. I used to have a Batarangs here. Actually, I took that down when I was doing the Tenet thing the other day when I was taping that with John David Washington, because I didn't, it wasn't really Batman related. I thought people would be like, oh, what's, is that Christopher Nolan Batman? And that's actually Rocksteady Batman. So anyways, yeah, I have fun little like gaming things all around. I should probably do a little tour of all my gaming paraphernalia over the years, but that is Brutal Legend. Good question. It's not a tease of another Brutal Legend or anything like that. Et cetera, et cetera. Next question is, do I think MK11 will have more content after MK11 Aftermath? Ed sort of talked about that in the interview. It sounds like, they want to keep supporting. They don't have anything to announce. I don't know. He didn't say it, but I would imagine, there's all these characters seem to be pretty popular. So if there's interest, I'm sure they could keep doing DLC. Smash has got, another whole pack that they're doing, and I think it's interesting. Like, these DLC fighters and characters tend to be almost kind of like mini game launches because people get excited about what they are. So I don't know what their plan is or what NetherRealm goes on to next, but I think it would be pretty cool to see more stuff. So let's stay tuned and see. All right, next question. Have I seen what the PlayStation 5 looks like? Just yes or no. Ha ha, monkey. No, I have not seen what the PlayStation 5 looks like. I've seen the controller, like you guys have, the DualSense. But no, that kind of stuff is so secretive that there's really, it's on a need to know basis, and there's no reason for me to know what it looks like. It doesn't affect what I'm doing or my plans. So no, I haven't seen it. I'll be just like you guys, excited when we finally get to see it. And Sony, I'm sure, is keeping it very quiet, so it's a surprise when we see it. So we'll probably all see it together. But we'll have to we'll see when that is. And I don't know when you're going to see it or when I'm going to see it. We'll just have to stay tuned and, figure out the plan as it comes together. All right. Well, those were a lot of good questions, guys. I got a bunch more coming in here, but I'm sure you all probably want to get to your weekend plans. Thanks for tuning in, though. This was fun. Thanks to Ed Boon for popping by. I will be back with you next week. I'm sure at some point we'll have some streams happening. And we will get ready for June. It's hard to believe we're already kind of like a month into this, but there will be some good June events that I think you guys will be excited about. Also great stuff in July and August. So it's going to ramp up. And remember, this is a year where we have like 2 new consoles launching, a new Xbox and a new PlayStation. So it's going to be pretty exciting, I think, as we lead up to that this fall. So lots more Summer Game Fest to come. Any questions, comments, ideas, send them to me. Twitter's probably the best way to send me a message at Geoff Keighley. I try and read them all. And head to summergamefest.com. If you haven't signed up for notifications, calendar notifications, or we even have browser notifications or email notifications, make sure to sign up so when some of these games and events get announced, we can alert you of what's happening. And, as I said, I think some things will get announced like early and some will probably, not get announced until sort of close till they happen. So yeah, stay tuned. It's going to be, I think, a fun summer ahead. Have a great long weekend if you're here in the U.S., Canada, or in some parts of Europe, and we will chat with you guys soon. Thanks for watching Summer Game Fest, and thanks for the great chat questions. That was cool to have that all kind of put together and done. So have a good night, guys. We will see you soon.